Miami Beach in the jet age. Frank was crooning Fly Me to the Moon, Sammy was belting out the blues, and JFK was celebrating his presidential victory. Miami Beach was about the daddy-o cool, and the only thing more streamlined than the figures by the pool were the crazy space-age buildings that landed all over town. They were hotels and motels and residences so far ahead of their time, they were considered ridiculous by their critics. Many were even demolished. But those that remain are a testament to the times, a more swinging time that celebrated a bright future. Get ready to blast off as we revisit the ultra-cool skyline of the 1950s and 60s, a skyline known now as Miami Modern. Just call it MiMo. If you were part of the prosperous post-World War II middle class, escaping the cold and snow-dreary north and cruising Miami Beach in a tail-fin convertible, the area to see and be seen was Collins Avenue, just north of the Art Deco district. It was truly a South Florida Camelot.
Tourists originally came down to Miami in the 20s and 30s, and the Art Deco architecture was here then. What happened after the war is that there was a renewed attempt to try and bring tourists back to Miami. And so what the architects did is they made the hotels and motels as inviting as possible for people to come and visit. And part of the way of doing that was to develop these architectural designs which were very modern and very forward-thinking.
And because Miami was in the tropics, South Florida in general was in the tropics, it also sort of tied into this whole fantasy about the Latin America, Brazil, Cuba. It was part of the spirit of the time, and people sort of sought this. They sought this idea of being someplace else, someplace foreign in a way. There was something exotic about it. And I think that the architecture of this period captures it really well.
The buildings featured soaring structures that reached for the stars. Curved walls, circular ceilings, stairways to nowhere, and turban-wearing genies. They've been collectively coined Miami Modern, or MiMo if you will, by Randall Robinson and Terry D'Amico. It was a captivating style of architecture inspired by modern technology and a promise of a great future.
Jet travel was just coming on the scene. There was all this fantasy about traveling to space. And in film and TV, as well as in industrial design, we began to see streamlined forms, forms based on airplanes and industrial objects. Very simplified, very streamlined, almost space age.
These times were about visionaries, bold thinkers who looked to the world around them. In the case of MiMo, it was a pack of forward-thinking architects that designed these modern marvels, and all agree that Morris Lapidus was the daddy of them all.
He was a Renaissance man, and he could do a purely modern building as good as any famous, respected architect, but he wasn't afraid to mix that pure modernism with these outlandish movie set-like interiors.
In 1947, the Russian-born architect first set foot on the Miami Beach shore and began transforming the landscape with an overwhelming portfolio.
At that time, modern architecture was so almost dogmatic. There were rules that one had to follow, compositional rules, etc. But he sort of was very free with it, almost very comfortable with it, very prolific with new forms and shapes.
Well, I think Lapidus's architecture creates a certain type of drama. Not every MiMo building was able to capture that exact spirit and stay intact as much as Lapidus's have been.
So that's what Morris Lapidus did. He brought in this sense of style and joie de vivre into architecture.
The innovation, inspiration, and imagination of Morris Lapidus would be well tested in 1952, when work began on one, then another project that would redefine the luxury resort and redefine the look of Miami to come.